Hello, friends, family, and curious people. I just wanted to put out a video, just kind of explaining a little bit more about where I am with my health. Reason being, a lot of people care, which is super sweet. A lot of people are asking, and I don't mind repeating the story to people. Like it's just wanted to put it out there in case somebody was too shy to ask, or you're just a stranger that may benefit from hearing about my story. So basically, I am pregnant. I am 16 weeks pregnant. It's there, I promise. 16 weeks pregnant, and I have cancer. I have melanoma. Basically, we found out we were pregnant 2 months ago in January, and then last month got the call that I had melanoma. And they found out that I have melanoma from a biopsy they did back in September, so like around like 5 months before I heard about the diagnosis. During which time, I got pregnant and things like that. And so I already have 3 children, ages 6, 4, and 2. And this is our 4th. And so, yeah, I don't know why it took them this long to tell me that I had melanoma, because treatment is significantly different if you have if you're pregnant or if you're not pregnant, because a lot of these treatments and even diagnostic procedures are limited or different if you're pregnant, because some of it is not safe for the baby. So yeah, so I thought it was fine that it took so long, but then talking to other people or my oncologist, they're just like, it should have taken like a couple weeks at most for me to hear back about the pathology. So I'll probably call around and see like what happened there, like why it took them so long to tell me about it. So yeah, I actually have a surgery scheduled for in a couple days on Good Friday. They'll be taking out, so look away if you don't like seeing things, but this is my melanoma. So the circular part is the scar I have from when they took something out back in 2021, and it came back as I think Spitz melanocytoma, which is like, they said it's not cancerous, it's just like a weird mole, but they're like, hey, let's take it out anyway. So they took it out, but then how they took it out, the scar kind of like opened up. So it was like really small, really small. And then, oh yeah, and the reason why like I even went to a dermatologist over it like back in 2021 was because like I didn't really have any moles or anything here, and then like out of nowhere, like super quickly, like within weeks or whatever, like I had like a pimple type of thing. I thought it was like a fluid filled pimple or something develop on here, but then like it looked really funky and it wasn't going away. So then I went to see the dermatologist. They did a shave biopsy, took it off, and then went back and like really took things out. So that happened back in 2021, and then last year, probably like mid 2023, I had something like started growing kind of like on the out. So this is just a scar. This is like healthy scar tissue or whatever. But anyway, so I had like a little bump on it, and I was just like, this looks weird. Let me just go to a dermatologist. It's probably the same thing, some weird mole. They'll just cut it out and we'll forget about it. So I went in and they cut it out, or they did a shave biopsy September 14th, 2023. That's where they said it's pathology. And then they had me come back, and shave biopsy is just like they shave it off. They don't like go deep in. And so then they called me back in October, and they're like, hey, we're gonna take more out. And at that time, they didn't tell me it was melanoma. The surgeon that I saw that was doing it, the dermatology surgeon, he was like, he made like a comment. He's like, oh, a lot of the times like they come back as melanomas, but like he didn't tell me it was melanoma, and it seemed like he didn't know it was melanoma. So I don't know when the pathology report came back to them, and I don't know why they didn't wait to see the pathology report to then send me to a surgical oncologist, because basically then in February, so last month, I got the call telling me it was cancer. It was actually a melanoma, and they wanted to send me to a surgical oncologist. Now, the difference between a dermatology surgeon, I guess they don't go deep enough for when it's cancer. So for me to see a surgical oncologist, which I saw him and they have a procedure scheduled this week, is he's gonna go really deep, and it's gonna be like a huge scar. I think he said he'll take out like this much skin and then stitch me back up. He said I shouldn't need like a skin graft because I'm still pretty young. I'm 32 and my skin's like elastic, so they'll stitch me up. And so basically, yeah, I have that scheduled. And yeah, so it was just kind of weird that they didn't wait for the pathology, or they didn't see the pathology report before going deeper. Because then it's like, what happened is that after the shave biopsy, like it healed, it was like, you know, fine, whatever. And then when I went back in October, they cut off more, and then the scar, the way they stitched me back up, and so I had like a line scar. And then so that scar got in October, and then I saw the surgical oncologist last month in February, and then I saw like bumps on the scar, but I thought it was just scar tissue, you know. I was just like, okay, melanoma. And on the pathology report, it was like, oh, they got like the margins barely. So it's just like, okay, even if it's melanoma, even if it's cancer, kind of like, yeah, that sucks. That's really a big deal, but looks like they got it, you know, like. And I read the pathology report wrong. I thought it was just like stage 0 or stage 1. I thought, but anyway, so I saw the surgical oncologist, and then he's like, actually, all the bumps you have on your scar, I don't want to zoom in, but you can zoom in if you'd like. He's like, that's melanoma growth. That's new melanoma growth. And I was just like, what? And he's just like, don't, because I was like touching it. I was like, see there, you know. He's like, whoa, like don't touch it. Like every time you touch it, it stimulates growth. Like that's the way it works. And you know, it's a big deal. He's like, don't touch it. And then I was like, oh, by the way, like I'm pregnant. And he was like really concerned. He's like, that changes everything, because they don't want to do certain things when you're in the first trimester, which I was in the first trimester last week or last month. And then right now I'm 16 weeks, so I'll be 17 weeks end of this week when they'll do the procedure. So he's just like, you can't do the procedure like right away. You have to wait at least a couple of weeks. And so that's why we waited. But then like if you just like do a simple search on melanoma, like it could be super aggressive. So it's like any sort of delay, it could be like life and death situation. So I'm like trying not to be bitter. Oh, look, a bird. I'm trying not to be bitter that like they waited so long to tell me what I had. Because maybe, you know, I wouldn't have been pregnant when they did the procedure, and they could have done it super quick and blah blah, you know. So now it's like a psychological thing. And then also the surgical oncologist, he's like, your pathology report says that your melanoma that they took out was 6 millimeters like thick, and if you like Google things about that, it's like stage 1 is like super thin, then, you know. And then like if it's 4 millimeters or thicker, like they just lump it all in like the worst category or whatever. And then the thickness of the tumor is like one of the biggest predictors of like how long you're gonna live post-diagnosis. So on average, I believe it was like, if it's 4 millimeters or thicker, which mine is at 6 millimeters, like people are expected, I think 46 or 48% of people are still alive after 5 years of diagnosis. So most people, you know, 52 or 54% unfortunately die. So that was like a really hard pill to swallow for me, because up to that point I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was like, okay, we'll just take it out, you know, we'll just move on. But then he was just like, it metastasizes, it's malignant, it could like metastasize pretty much anywhere in your body, your liver, your brain, your lungs, all sorts of places. And then obviously that's not good, and that's how people die. So yeah, so what they're going to be doing on Friday is so in like what, 3 days, they'll be removing this. It's called like wide local excision. So they'll remove it, and then they'll also inject me with some radioactive dye around the melanoma to locate the nearest lymph node. And that's just to locate it. It's not saying like melanoma spread there or didn't spread there. It's just like to locate it. And so the same day they'll inject the radioactive dye, then they'll prep me for the operating room. And usually they actually knock people out for that surgery, that procedure, like you're under general anesthesia, you're asleep. But because I'm pregnant and general anesthesia is not good for the baby, they are gonna do, I think it's called like block anesthesia. They'll just like put a, I don't know, inject me with some stuff to like block the nerve to my arm, as far as I understand. So I'm not gonna feel anything in my arm, but I'll be totally awake. And that procedure, I think it's like an hour and a half or so. So I shouldn't feel anything. But still, just being awake for it for so long, well, most people are not awake for it. That's like a psychological thing I gotta prepare for. So anyway, so if you want to pray for me for Friday, please pray that both the wide local excision and also the radioactive dye for the lymph node and the lymph node removal. They'll just remove one lymph node, they'll send it to pathology. That's probably gonna take days or weeks to see if melanoma spread there. Because, okay, so basically if it's spread there, if they find in pathology under the microscope and everything that the melanoma is in my armpit, in my lymph node, in my lymphatic system, then that's going to be stage 3. So I'm at least stage 2 melanoma if it didn't spread anywhere, just because of the thickness of it. At the very least, I'm stage 2. And if it spread there, then stage 3. And then that's just a diagnostic measure. It's not like a treatment measure. And then they'll probably have to do like some sort of like body imaging to see if it like metastasized anywhere else in the body outside of my skin and lymphatic system. And if it did, then that's stage 4. So, and the whole thing, I guess, the melanoma can simultaneously spread to your lymphatic system and through your bloodstream. So just because it's not in your lymphatic system doesn't necessarily mean it's not anywhere else. But that's the way like the procedure is. Because I asked them like, hey, can you guys like not do the lymph node biopsy on me since I'm pregnant and it is radioactive dye? And radioactive dye has like I mean, there are definitely risks for the baby, even though they say like it's a very small amount and it shouldn't be that risky, especially in second trimester. But there are risks associated. So I asked them like, hey, can we just not do that? But then they're like, you know, because melanoma like spreads so quickly, we want to like stage you so we know how rigorously we would have to like treat this. Just because, you know, it could go on your placenta too, and it could just go everywhere. So it's like if I die from metastasized things, you know, it's better to start treatment or whatever. And I haven't like researched treatment too much. I've looked into it, but because there are so many things, yeah, it could just go so many different ways depending on what the stage is. I just don't want to like overburden myself and over like emotionally invest myself into these things and become like scared and whatever else. So I'm just gonna wait until the staging is done. I'm gonna wait until the results come in, and I'll talk to the oncologist, I'll talk to whoever else. So yeah, so for Friday, sorry, my tangents are all over the place. Thank you for bearing with me. So for Friday, the procedure, it's gonna be like in the morning and afternoon. You guys could pray for primarily for the baby's safety, that the radioactive dye is not going to affect it, that the block anesthesia or anything else, any sort of, you know, because you could get infections or whatever from surgeries. Just pray for safety for the baby, and also pray for safety for me, because there is like a small percent, I think it's like 5%, that chance of, if they remove a lymph node, just because you have like your lymphatic system's just everywhere. And if they remove a lymph node, sometimes what it does is like your arm could be swollen for the rest of your life, because the lymphatic fluid is not like flowing. But again, that only happens in like a super small percentage of people. But still, you know, just pray for my safety, for no side effects for me, for no side effects for the baby, for the surgeon, for the medical team. The surgeon has been like super cool, super like caring, and for that I'm so thankful. Like, I wanted to cry because like when I saw him, he was just like, he cared so much, you know, he was just talking to me and he was so concerned. And that's when I walked away from that meeting like having a little bit of self-pity and like just a realization of how serious this was, from like talking to him and seeing his concern and seeing his reaction. So yeah, so for Friday, please pray for that. And if the Lord blesses it and we're still alive, if the Lord doesn't come back by then, which would be the best thing, you know, he comes back, takes us all to heaven, that would be awesome. But if not, if I'm still here, then I'll do the research of what the next steps are. Yeah, also if you could pray for just my faith, my just mental health, as the popular terms of this generations are. Just because it is sometimes difficult when they start to just like look at my scar and just start to like freak out a bit, you know, just psychologically looking at it and not being sure if it's grown or not, and then like feeling weird in my arm and not being sure if it's all my head, because you know sometimes you're like, oh, this should hurt, and then starts like you think it hurts or it feels weird, but then I'm just not sure if I'm like thinking about it and then just interpreting things as that. So yeah, just pray for me to trust God in all of this. And it's been so kind for so many people reaching out, telling us, you know, that they're praying for me, that some people are saying they're fasting for me. That's just been so cool. Sorry, I live next to an airport. Yeah, that's been just super sweet, just to see so much love. And just like the other day, we came over to somebody's house for dinner, and then we ended up like in prayer, where it was just a couple of us families, where, you know, somebody initiated for like all the adults, they were praying for me, and that was just so moving. And there's just so much love and attention in that, and just it's really heartwarming. Construction. Life goes on, and that's another thing, you know, it's almost like surreal, like this is happening, but then somebody else is having their own, you know, building their things. And actually we're building something up front in our house, so there's just so many projects happening. And like I mentioned, they have other, you know, children, and especially the 2-year-old, she doesn't understand, she doesn't care. And I love that, because she makes life super normal. You know, she's still demanding, she's still everything's normal to her. And you know, the other kids, the 4-year-old, the 6-year-old, they kind of understand, because we've told them that, you know, like I have cancer, and so they've been praying every night, and they've been telling me they're praying, and it's just been so sweet just to see that, but also kind of heartbreaking, because you don't want your kids, I don't want their childhood to be like super defined by my illness, you know. So anyway, I was gonna go into like the pathology reports, like certain mutations I have, certain things I don't. Like, I don't have the BRAF mutation, which means I don't qualify for targeted therapy, but I'd still qualify for immunotherapy. That's just like down the road. Then just so many people sending me so many homeopathic remedy type of things, and I've been trying to implement as much things as I can. Like, I've been very low carb the past month or so, ever since I found out about my diagnosis. Kind of like keto, but not counting the carbs from like vegetables and berries. Then I've been juicing. Somebody said to do like to do beet juice in the mornings, and so I was doing that on an empty stomach, but then my blood pressure was just so low from that that I felt like I was gonna die. Like, I had like no strength, and I felt so nauseous from it. And so I did that for a little bit, but it was just not compatible with life, quality of life. So I still juice. Like, I do carrot juice in the mornings. I do, somebody said like to drink baking soda, like put a little bit of baking soda in the morning with like hot water, like to see it fizzle, and then drink it slowly. That's supposed to do something. So I've been doing everything kind of in moderation, especially like baking soda things, because if you Google things, some people are like, oh, with pregnancy, it's not great. Excuse me. I'm pregnant. I get to get away with things. So yeah, just doing, then just a bunch of other stuff, little things. And so I've appreciated all that, like homeopathic things. I've adopted as much as I can that seemed compatible with pregnancy, that wasn't risky to pregnancy. And once, you know, Lord willing, when I'm no longer pregnant, I mean, I really hope I get to like breastfeed. Sorry, TMI for some, but I hope I'll get to have like a normal baby bonding experience. I hope I'm not just like thrown into therapy. Like, that's a prayer of mine. I really hope that, but you know, the Lord knows. The Lord knows. Yeah, for the most part, people have been super encouraging. Also, theology matters so much, because there have been like a few people that are like, you know, kind of like more in the Arminian leaning, if you're familiar with that term, where they're just like, oh, you know, like you have this potentially like really dig through your heart, through yourself, like it might be like due to sin, like you have cancer because of sin in your life, you know. And that's honestly, it's been hurtful in some sense, because then it places so much responsibility on me instead of God. You know, it's just, but I'm so open. I'm a sinner, you know. I have a lot of things wrong with me. I'm praying for God, you know, if that is the case, because it could be, you know. I'm praying for God to kind of like open up my heart, open up my eyes to what it is, how he's using this to prune me, you know, what it is that I should learn from this, I should forsake, you know, it kind of like to cleanse me, you know. I mean, I definitely want to become better, you know. I would want to become more holy. I want to become more Christ-like. I definitely do. And that's gonna be like the anthem of my life until I have no life, you know, until I'm in heaven and glory. And I'm so thankful that I'm saved by grace alone, that it doesn't depend on me, that it's not like, oh, you're doing great, okay, you're going to heaven, oh, you're having doubts, how dare you, where's your faith, you're going to hell, you know, like that. I'm so thankful that I'm saved by grace and grace alone. That's been like the pillar, that's been like the rock of this whole experience, to trust God that He's good, He's just, and whatever's happening in my life, whether it be good or perceived as bad, like he's good and he loves me so much and he died on the cross for my sins and I'm gonna be in heaven, and so are you in 100 years. Let's be real, all of us are gonna be there. You know. So yeah, just that's the update, and then we'll see how this goes, this whole YouTube thing goes. If people find it helpful, if not, you know, if it's helpful for people to kind of see where I'm at, and if it's helpful for me, if I feel like I'm like venting and I feel more heard, and basically I might continue this whole YouTube thing. And the reason why I'm doing YouTube versus like Instagram is because like YouTube, you could upload like a 30-minute video. Instagram, it's like you gotta do like a snippet, like here's the overview of everything I'm going through, versus here I could just kind of blabber on, which I like because I am not that good with words, and so sometimes it's better if I feel like I have more space to talk, versus if I feel the pressure of like, okay, condense it, get to the point, which is like the best, you know, people who could do that. That's great. So yeah, so please pray for me, pray for the surgeons, pray for the baby, pray for my husband, pray for the children, pray for extended family, for friends to not grow weary of supporting us and praying for us, because I definitely don't want to become a burden to anybody. I don't want to kind of make it all about me, and that's the whole thing. Like even in conversation, I'm just like in the back of my head, I'm like, we're just talking about my struggles. What about you? When's the last time you cried? Like what's going on in your life? You know, so I don't want to like grab all the spotlight and then just ignore other people's needs or blessings or whatever it may be. So yeah, so loving this weather. The sky is blue. That's a huge thing, because ever since the fires here in California, I have like PTSD from the smoke. Like anytime I see smoke in the skies, which not right now, I'm just like, this is bad. So yeah, again, have no clue why I have cancer, but have cancer. And if you have any like rebukes, or you know, if you see sin in my life, please know, like I want to know, I want to grow, I want counsel, you know. I don't want to be proud and say like I've arrived. Not to say like, oh, this is punishment for, you know, whatever, like not to say that that's my like theology on things, but you know, if this is something that God wants me to go through, which obviously is, because it's happening, and all my days were written in the book of life, you know, before anything happened. Is it the book of life, or was that where your name is written if you're saved? Anyway, not a theologian, but you know, I firmly believe that nothing is random. Everything happens for a reason, and I've watched so many videos on YouTube about all these people posting about their like cancer journeys, and so many of them, like you see they're posting, and then like last video posted 3 years ago, and then you go in comments and people are like, oh, rest in peace, blah blah blah. So, but there are other videos where, you know, they're posting about their cancer, and then you look at their latest videos and they're like about how to cook a pie, you know, and they're totally, you know, healed or in remission. So it could go either way, but yeah. Okay, well, let me know if you have any specific questions. I'll probably upload a video after my lymph node biopsy, maybe like describe how that went without anesthesia, like all the insider information of being awake during that procedure. All right, love you guys.